Hello and welcome to another Magic 2015 gameplay. Today we're taking another look at our Defender deck, but now we've added a fourth color, so now we're playing all colors except for green. So that leads us to the following deck list, starting with Wall of Omens. That's the important addition from white, a cheap wall that also draws us a card, which is nice. And I also ended up playing one Reprisal just to have an additional late game removal spell, and the power 4 or greater is actually pretty relevant because most of our defenders have 4 toughness, so if a creature has 4 or more power it usually is able to attack into our defenders, so having a removal spell to target those creatures is nice. Then we have the full amount of Doorkeepers. Just an early defender, and it's also a win condition. It's a pretty slow one, it's not as quick as Vance Sentinel, but it can still close out a game if you have enough defenders out, and can activate this a bunch to mill out the opponent. Then we have Think Twice for some card draw. It's nice that it's an instant because a lot of our late game relies on activating the activated abilities of our Vance Sentinels and Doorkeepers, so you can also keep up Think Twice if you want to draw some cards. So you basically pass the turn with all your mana up, so if you have some spare mana you can draw some cards. Then we have Negate, 2 copies, because I think this is the most important counterspell. The main way we are gonna lose games is to huge sweepers like Planar Cleansing, or removal spells taking out our win condition defenders like Vance Sentinel or Doorkeeper. So having a way to stop those removal spells or sweepers is pretty important. We usually don't care about creatures, although there are some that can be problematic, but we have removal for those as well. Then we have the full amount of Gargomozoa, which unfortunately is only 3, but it's probably our best defender at actually defending because it can stop those annoying flyers, cards like Baneslayer Angel, and it's also nice against Baneslayer because it prevents all combat damage so they don't gain any life, and also stops other cards like Stormbreath Dragon. And the 1 power actually does stop 1 toughness creatures from attacking at all, because otherwise you can just eat them for free. So Gargomozoa is excellent. Then I'm also playing 2 copies of Coral Barrier. It's not a super exciting defender, but the fact that you get an additional creature is nice, so you have more ways to chump block or sneak in some damage. The 3 toughness can be a problem because we are playing Anger of the Gods, and most of our defenders, except for Coral Barrier and Gargomozoa, can survive an Anger of the Gods, but it's still fine. Then we have 2 copies of Traumatic Visions to search some lands, because we are playing 4 colors after all. So it helps with the fixing, and in the late game it's just a hard counter. Which is also nice, again, because we're relying on playing activated abilities at instant speed, so we can easily keep up a counterspell. Then Ogre Jailbreaker is also interesting, a 4 mana 4/4. We have quite a few gates, so usually he'll be able to attack, so we can actually attack with one of our defenders, but it still counts as a defender, which is important for our Doorkeepers or Vance Sentinels. So it's a very decent creature in this deck and can actually do some damage to the opponent and block scary cards like Brimaz and take them out. Then Anger of the Gods, as I've mentioned, most of our defenders can survive an Anger of the Gods, so you can just play out your defenders, your opponent plays out his cards, and then you just sweep them away, leaving you with still all your creatures intact, which is nice. And the deck can be weak to like weenie strategies that try to swarm the board and kill you with 1 huge attack, so having Anger of the Gods to stop that is also nice. Then Vance Sentinel, this is our main win condition, as it can kill the opponent pretty quickly. If you drop this with, let's say, 4 or 5 defenders in play, it only takes a couple of turns of activations to kill the opponent, and we can even speed that up if we have an Illusionist's Bracers in play, It's not the most elegant equipment out there, as it's pretty clunky to play and equip, but it does get the job done in this deck, as it can be equipped to cards like Vance Sentinel to kill the opponent even faster. So if you're under some pressure, then it's nice to have the bracers, and also means that if your opponent does kill the Vance Sentinel or some of your other defenders, you don't need as many defenders to still do some damage. So that's why I like including the bracers. And then finally, Augur Spree as another removal spell that can deal with pretty big creatures that sometimes Reprisal can't deal with, like Stormbreath Dragon or Brimaz, for example, which are two of the more popular creatures in the game. Then let's take a look at our mana base, which is pretty complicated. I won't go over all the details, just show you 3 plains, 1 island, 2 swamps, 5 mountains, then the full amount of Arcane Sanctum and Crumbling Necropolis, 2 Azorius Guildgate, 4 Izzet Guildgate, and 1 Dimir Guildgate. So that gives us 24 lands, which is plenty, as we also have the 2 land cyclers. And the curve, as you can see, is a thing of beauty, and in the late game we still have those activated abilities and equipping the Illusionist's bracers, so we still have some late game there. So let's jump into some games and see how it does. Alright, let's take a look at our opening hand, which is a little slow again, with 2 tapped lands here. We do have 2 Doorkeepers and a Think Twice. I think this is keepable. Would have been way better with a basic land, but we do have all our colors now, so I think we have to keep this. Play the Arcane Sanctum and say go. I think the ideal draw would be a mountain, so we also have double red for Anger of the Gods. Would like to draw multiple lands in a row here. Alright, another Arcane Sanctum, but we can play the Guildgate here. So next turn we can play a Doorkeeper and play a tapped land, and the turn after we can either play another Doorkeeper or maybe a Think Twice. Meanwhile, our opponent played 2 Elixirs of Immortality, so the damage route with Vance Sentinel is gonna be a little slow. Alright, I like seeing a basic here, so I think, yeah, we'll play a Doorkeeper, and then next turn we can both play a Doorkeeper and cast a Think Twice, or maybe even play the Vance Sentinel if we feel like it. But I think we want to wait a bit on that, just because I don't want to expose the Vance Sentinel to removal, because it is one of our better win conditions. Alright, our opponent shuffled. And another thing about trying to mill our opponent is that he has a Elixir in play and another one in his library, so trying to mill the opponent is gonna be a little more difficult. Still possible, but let's just play, I think we have to cast a Think Twice first. I'm not gonna bluff a counterspell, so I'd rather have more information, and I think this is fine. Alright, Wall of Omens. There's a reason to play the Think Twice first, because I would rather play the Wall of Omens than a Doorkeeper here. And the Gargoyle is fine as well. Also looks like the opponent missed a land drop, which is probably a good reason not to activate the Elixir, because by activating it you're giving yourself last chance to draw a land. But looks like it did hit his 3rd land drop. So we have a Guildgate, a Think Twice in the graveyard, and a handful of defenders. So I think playing a Vance Sentinel makes sense here, just because it uses up all our mana, which is what we want to do. Play a Guildgate, and then next turn we can play another defender and start activating the Vance Sentinel. Our opponent will be at least at 30 life, so it will take a while, but I think we can still get there. It's not like our opponent is representing a clock right now. so we have some time to do stuff, and their opponent activating the elixir in his main phase is a bit weird. Could have waited. Alright, we did draw a Wall of Omens, so if we play this and are lucky enough to hit a basic land, then we can play Doorkeeper and activate, but I think that's a bit greedy, so I think I'll just, let's see, play a Gargomazoa and activate. Another way to go is playing the Vance Sentinel and having them both next turn, but I want to start activating this turn. So I'm gonna go with the Gargomazoa, make sure to leave up red mana. This is fine. Our opponent does not like our game plan, I think, but that's fine. So let's say go and keep up the Vance Sentinel activation, just to represent another card here, potentially. Opponent goes to end step, and we'll take 4 to the face. And that's gonna be at least 5 next turn. Alright, another Vance Sentinel. Our opponent casts Inspiration, which is totally fine. We do have to be aware of a sweeper, but our opponent at 4 mana is not the case yet, so I think we'll play Wall of Omens here. Hope to hit a land drop. That's not a land drop, so I'll just say go and activate the Vance Sentinel again. Keeping up Augur Spree and Think Twice as well. Alright, Gargomazoa will not do much this game. And another Elixir will gain our opponent some more life. But he's gonna take 5 now. Alright, I would like to hit a negate at some point, just to have a way to deal with the potential sweeper, because our opponent, let's see, does he have double white? I don't think so. I think he only has 2 planes, or white mana, I should say. So planar cleansing should not be a problem yet, given that he also missed some land drops. So I think here we can play the Gargomazoa and activate the Vance Sentinel again. If we draw another land, we can try and play a second Vance Sentinel. But if he does have a sweeper, then I would like to keep at least 1 Vance Sentinel in hand. So this is gonna deal 6. Alright, Treasure Find, getting back Inspiration. So our opponent's trying to dig for lands, probably has some big finisher in hand that he cannot play yet. But meanwhile, our Vance Sentinel is doing a lot of work. Our opponent gains another 5, has gained 15 life this game so far. Another Gomazoa, which is better than nothing, I guess. I really would have liked to hit a land drop to play the second Vance Sentinel, but I guess we'll just have to be happy with another Gomazoa. And say go. This is gonna deal 7, so a 3-turn clock at the moment. And another Inspiration. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Planar Cleansing is the opponent's only realistic out. Hit is a 3rd white source. So I think I'll avoid playing more creatures, because I don't want to lose them all to a Planar Cleansing. Let's see. Alright, we hit a Guildgate, so that's good. Yeah, I think I'll just pass the turn, and we will end up activating the Vance Sentinel and casting a Think Twice. Probably in the reverse order, just in case we hit a negate off of the Think Twice. But no need to do anything in our main phase here. So let's say go. Does our opponent have it? Nope. Inferno Titan. Let's see what it targets, I guess. probably gonna kill a Gomazoa. Alright, that's fine. Let's activate in response, just because we have one more defender out now. And I don't think there's a reason to activate the Doorkeeper, so might as well cast a Think Twice. And their opponent says GG. And we have the hand full of Vance Sentinels, but let's close out the game. Opponent had a slow hand, he says. Well, defenders are not known to be super fast, but if you give them enough time, they will kill you. So let's move on to the next game. Alright, let's take a look at our opening hand. We are on the play with only 2 lands, so we're gonna have to mulligan. Alright, this is a little better. We have all the lands we need pretty much, only missing double red for Anger of the Gods. But otherwise this hand is pretty awesome. Alright, Doorkeeper, we will play. And we could have played a tapped land, so next turn we are sure to hit a 3-drop, but I don't think it matters all that much. Alright, opponent says go with blue-white and blue up. Let's say go. Maybe he has a Think Twice here. Does not. And it's gonna be another white land, so likely just blue-white. And a Chasm Skulker, which could be a problem, but we do have Gargomazoa to block it. Another Crumbling Necropolis, which we will play together with, I think, Coral Barrier, so we can still try and eat the Skulker if it attacks, and also because I think Gargomazoa is more important to keep alive should our opponent use removal. Although in blue and white there's not much that our opponent can do other than return the cards to our hand. Alright, goes to combat, doesn't attack, and says go. Likely has some sort of counter spell up. And let's see here. I think we can... I do want this Gargomazoa to resolve. Otherwise this Skulker can be a problem. Although we do have Augur Spree to deal with the Skulker next turn and the turn after, even if our opponent draws another card. And the squid tokens are not a problem yet, because we don't have any islands in play. So actually I think playing the Vance Sentinel here, even if it gets countered, that's fine, because I actually want this Gargomazoa to resolve. Alright, nullify. And let's attack with the squid. And say go. We do have to be careful if we block, because our opponent could draw a card at instant speed. But if he does, we do open a window to resolve a Vance Sentinel. But I don't think it's really worth the risk here. We want to keep as many defenders as possible. Voyage's End, alright, so opponent does not have a way to draw cards at instant speed, it seems. So I'll take the 3 damage here. Opponent says go. Alright, we have a lot of options here. I think we do wanna kill the Chasm Skulker. So we're gonna probably end up Augur Spraying that and then probably just replaying the Doorkeeper. Yeah, I think we lead with the Doorkeeper in case our opponent has another counter for that. So we're sure that the Augur Spray kills the Skulker. We could wait on killing the Skulker, but I don't want this to get countered. So let's attack first with the Squid token. See if that works. It does. So now I think we Augur Spree. Alright. Opponent gets 2 squids, but we do have a coral barrier to block and no islands, so Island Walk is not an action. Alright, some green mana here, could also just be a blue-white dual land. We could have also tried to resolve Gargamazua last turn, but I do think I would rather take out the Chasm Skulker before it grows too large. And I think we can lead with a Think Twice here. And then play a Coral Barrier. I don't think we have to keep up Negate for a Planar Cleansing yet. Our board is not that impressive. But we could make a case for keeping up Negate and Think Twice Flashback. And this also represents a counterspell, and we can also activate the Doorkeeper should nothing happen. So I'm okay with passing the turn here, because all that untapped mana is a bit suspicious. Opponent did not have a Think Twice there. Let's see what he does. What do we do? Alright, Royal Elemental. Do not like seeing that. And he is gonna steal a creature. It's gonna be our Doorkeeper. So I think we flashback a Think Twice, trying to look for an answer for the Royal Elemental as quickly as possible. We do get the creatures back if the Elemental leaves. Opponent has no good attacks here. Alright, that's not an answer. So now we can just play the Vance Sentinel. Yep. I'm not afraid to not have Negate up here, since a Sweeper would actually benefit us. And let's see if he has another land here. It's taking some time. Yep, there's the land, stealing the Vance Sentinel. It's gonna attack us for 3 in the air. So cards we want to hit are Anger of the Gods or 2 more Augur Sprees. Would also all be pretty decent. And we do have a negate to protect it. Talrand, alright, so Anger of the Gods is starting to look like our only real out here. Opponent only 2 cards left. Alright, there's the Augur Spree. So let's see. Can we try and blow out the opponent by killing this at instant speed and then ambushing a Talrand? We could try. If we attack with the Squid token, our opponent could be tempted to attack with the Talrand and all his other creatures. We can kill the elemental at instant speed, block the Talrand, still have a negate up. Because I do think we need to get rid of this Talrand as soon as possible. So if we could kill it somehow, then I'm all for it. We did give our opponent an extra turn to draw into a counterspell, but we do have this negate. So I'm not too afraid. If he steals the Coral Barrier, alright, it doesn't. Does not have red to activate the Vance Sentinel. So hopefully he attacks with the Talrand here. Void Snare. Alright, perfect. Does get a Drake token, but now the kill Talrand plan is starting to look more realistic. Alright. Opponent did attack with it. Let's try and kill the Royal Elemental. We get our blockers back, and hello there, friend. Nice. Thank you. Alright. Luckily your opponent did not attack with the Vance Sentinel. Otherwise it would have been tapped. Alright, let's see here. Opponent has a flying threat which we can stop with Guard Gomazoa. I do want to keep negate up from now on, just to have a way to deal with planar cleansing. Let's see, can we play Guard Gomazoa? Yeah, I think we play Guard Gomazoa and then keep up negate and nullify. So that means we will take 2 every turn. I think that's too much of a problem that I have to negate this. Alright, so now we can deal 3 with the Vance Sentinel every turn and more next turn. Does mean that now planar cleansing is pretty effective, but otherwise we would have been taking 2 every turn from the Drake, and I think that's not a risk we can take. Opponent goes to end step, activate Vance Sentinel. Opponent takes 3 to the face, down to 11. Let's play a Coral Barrier. I don't want to play the second Vance Sentinel if I don't have to. Alright, let's pause a turn with Think Twice, Vance Sentinel and Doorkeeper up. Now we also have 2 Squid tokens, which actually do start doing a lot of damage. We still don't have an island, so our opponent can't do the same. Alright, opponent has a lot of land. If he does have a planar cleansing here, we would have to use Think Twice to dig for a counter. Archaeomancer, what does it get back? Probably, what is it gonna be? Nullify, that's fine. Opponent goes to end step. Let's use this on the opponent. And let's draw a card. Alright. Opponent takes 4 down to 6. And he's actually just dead unless he has a way to gain life at instant speed here. We can attack with our squids. Activate the Vance Sentinel and the opponent's gonna be dead. Alright, so we managed to survive a Royal Elemental. Alright, let's take a look at our opening hand. We're on the draw, only 1 land, so we're gonna have to ship this. This looks a lot better. Does miss an early defender as Doorkeeper or Wall of Omens, and a win condition as Vance Sentinel, but we do have pretty much everything. Mana wise, we just need black mana, but we do have the double red for Anger of the Gods already. So this hand is gonna play out a little bit slowly, but I think it's still fine. Traumatic Visions can get us a swamp, so we've got that covered. Opponent plays Plains and Squadron Hawk meet Anger of the Gods, so hopefully our opponent just overextends a little bit here. Otherwise, Guard-Gomazoa is going to force him to go wide, but that would mean losing Guard-Gomazoa to our own Anger of the Gods. Let's see here, we can play Mountain, cycle for a swamp. I think that makes sense, but it does tip off the opponent that we have Anger of the Gods, possibly. The other option here is just playing the Azorius Guildgate and saying go. Yeah, it doesn't seem that great. So let's do this and pass the turn. And then next turn we can probably just play Azorius Guildgate or decide to play Guard-Gomazoa. So opponent play the second Squadron Hawk and is going to attack us down to 19. And let's cycle this for a swamp. There it is. And I don't think we want to Anger of the Gods quite yet. Interesting. Actually, I think I'll just play the Gomazoa here, make our opponent deal with this, spend either a removal spell on it, or force him to go wide. And then we can try and get him later with Anger of the Gods. But we don't have a ton of removal, so we do have to use it sparingly. Alright, a Bomber, or Bomber, I should say. So when it deals combat damage, he has to sacrifice it and put 2 goblins into play. Interesting. Exiling this with Anger of the Gods does prevent this from going to the graveyard, so he can't unearth it. But I don't know if that's really a problem. We could also just block it and delay it for a turn. I kinda like that plan. So we force him to attack. Perhaps he plays his other 2 Squadron Hawks, and then we play the Anger of the Gods. I would also like to play Anger of the Gods with Negate up in case he has a counterspell. Alright, that's good. Another Squadron Hawk. And if he doesn't do anything, we can also cycle the Traumatic Visions. So he played all his Squadron Hawks. Still has 5 cards in hand, because obviously the Squadron Hawk is just pure card advantage. Did not play anything, so let's cycle this. And I think we'll get an island here if we... I don't think we have... Yeah, we do have 1 basic island, just because most of our gates and tri-lands all produce blue mana. Opponent did not attack, so he's not willing to just throw away a Squadron Hawk. But casting Anger of the Gods is quite tempting here. But we do have to remember that it's just a 2-for-2 trade, as in our opponent spent 2 cards for our 2 cards, so it's not like we're up by a huge amount. So I'm actually okay with playing the Jailbreaker here and seeing what our opponent does. If he attacks with everyone, I'll block the Bomber so that we can sweep it away and prevent it from going to the graveyard. The only problem here is if our opponent has some sort of bump spell to either push through a lot of damage this turn or save all his creatures next turn, but I think that's not very likely, the second case. First case could be true if he plays some sort of bump spell here, but we'll find out soon enough. Opponent could also just play more cheap creatures that we can get with the anger, and we do have negate backup. So this is gonna be an interesting turn. Does he attack with everyone? He does not. That's good for us, I think. And he plays a Skymark Rock. So I think now we have to pull the trigger on this Anger of the Gods. Let's keep up those lands, that's fine. So that's good. And now we can attack with the Jailbreaker for 4. And pass the turn. I don't think there's a reason to play the bracers there. Would rather have negate up just in case our opponent plays some broken artifact. Alright, so it looks like our opponent is just a flying beatdown deck, which I think we can handle, although flyers are a weak spot if we don't have a Gargamozoa in play. So let's start by attacking here, see if that works, or if our opponent has removal. I think he does. What's this? Okay. That's fine, I'm not gonna negate that. And then I'll just play another Jailbreaker and call it a day. Still keeping negate up, just in case. I wanna counter cards like Binding of Thassa, or if he had more creatures out, military intelligence could be something he has. Don't think he runs sweepers, so I'm not really concerned about that. Alright, a 0-1 Cloudfin Raptor, not attacking. We can attack here, and we will. If he has another one of those... now I am tempted to negate it, just to push in some damage. Yeah, actually I'll do it, just because we have the second negate. If we didn't, then I wouldn't do this, but we do. Takes the full amount. And now I can play the bracers and still keep negate up. So another match where we beat down with Ogre Jailbreaker, plan C. Explosive Impact. It's not gonna happen. Another strange card. Seems better to play the burn spells with X. Although, yeah, this is an instant, so that's a reason to play it over Banefire, but usually Banefire is way more flexible. So you would usually play the Banefire over the Explosive Impact. Alright, another land. Let's attack. Our opponent does have islands, I'm pretty sure. So the Squid token with Island Walk would be pretty effective. Do we play it into a possible sweeper? I think we do. Just because it seems so unlikely. And our opponent could easily have a big blocker next turn that we want to have the additional creatures in play. And it's another bomber, which is fine. And nothing else. So let's go for another attack. Alright, so our opponent had the third fog here, which is totally fine. Not gonna play out the Guild Gate. So our opponent can make a bunch of blockers now, which is a little annoying. And a Strix as well. But luckily we have an island walking squid, which is gonna be trying to kill the opponent in 4 turns. I don't think we attack into the Strix unless our opponent attacks us first, just because trading a Jailbreaker for a Strix does not seem great, the Strix having Death Touch. Meanwhile we keep drawing lands. Yeah, let's just attack. Can't block this one. And let's play the Sanctum and say go. Alright, what did our opponent draw here? Hopefully it's no Baneslayer Angel, because that would be a problem, and our opponent could cast it with double white. So far our opponent's mana base looks pretty greedy, just trying to squeeze in Squadron Hawks with Bombers and Strixes and all this other nonsense. Has played 3 Hysterical Blindness already, so could still have a 4th one. Yep, it is a common, so you can have 4 of those. Alright, there's something. He's unearthing the Bomber, so he can attack, make 2 more Goblin tokens, which is good at gumming up the board, but our Squid token lingers on. Another gate's not great. And let's say go. If we ever draw a Vance Sentinel, this game is over. Another Anger of the Gods I would not complain about, as that would just win the game on the spot. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. Switcheroo. And yep, he's gonna steal our Squid token, which does have Island Walk because we have an island, or rather can attack us and we can't block it. It always has Island Walk. So now we have to change gears, still drawing lands. Let's see, is it time to suicide in our 2 Jailbreakers? Might be the time. I mean, our opponent can't quad block one of them, so pretty much has to chump one, trade the other with the Strix, and then next turn he only has 3 creatures in play and we can attack with the other one. Sounds fine to me. Question is, do we attack with the other goblin? And I don't think we do. Or actually, yeah, might as well. Every point matters now with our opponent at 2 life. Alright, that's one predictable block. The other one is just chumping. Yep. Okay, that's fine. So our opponent has 2 more turns to chump our Jailbreaker to find an answer. Meanwhile, we aren't doing too great here. Did not find a single Vance Sentinel or Doorkeeper to start activating every turn. And there's a Soul of Ravnica, which can draw our opponent some cards, but more importantly is a 6/6 flyer, which will kill us in a couple turns. Opponent attacks. Come on, Vance Sentinel. Augur Spree. Well, that does kill the soul. So I guess we attack with the Jailbreaker, hope he blocks with the Soul of Ravnica. Nope, he's gonna chum block instead, which does make sense. And let's say go. Opponent's gonna get to draw, but then he's not gonna be able to play anything if he does. Banefire, are we dead? I think we are. 7. Yep, we're dead, but we can actually Ogre. Oh, he went for the Jailbreaker instead. Could have gone to the face, but he's gonna keep the Squid token on defense. If he pointed the Banefire to our face, attacked with both, it would have been lethal. We would have been forced to use the Auger Spree on the Squid token. Right now we're doing better than if he would have used this on our face. But yeah, if he did go for the all-in attack, we would have won this turn. So that's maybe why he went for the safer play. Meanwhile, we have a Wall of Omens, which we can use to cycle, see what we draw, and it's another land. That's not good. So yeah, we're not in a great spot here. Auger Spree not being able to kill the soul, unlike Reprisal. And not finding any win conditions. Opponent gets to draw a card every turn here. Luckily only has blue cards or permanents, so only gets to draw 1 card with it. But we are dead next turn. Unless we Auger Spree the Squid token, which does buy us another turn, so I think it's worth it. As silly as it may seem. And there's a Guard Gomazoa, which does hold the ground against the soul, but it's not a win condition. So yeah, not in a great spot. Opponent has 2 cards in hand, can activate to draw another one, and that's what he's gonna do. And what does he play here? Attacking does not make a ton of sense. And he's just gonna say go. Alright, there's our win condition. Let's hope it doesn't get countered. It doesn't. Let's equip it. So our opponent's dead next turn, even if he kills everything. Alright, Voyage's End. That's fine. We can just replay it. Not a big deal. I do think we just play it again here. And we can't equip it again, but that's fine. Let's say go. And hope this works. Baneslayer wouldn't do it for the opponent. Yeah, he pretty much had to use the Voyage's End there, but he could have waited until his turn, so he couldn't replay the Vance Sentinel. So that was a mistake there from the opponent, because now we can untap and kill him. While otherwise, we would have needed another turn. Alright, easy block. Does he have another Voyage's End maybe? He has a shock. It's gonna point it at our face. And is gonna pause the turn. Let's play it out. No need to do all this, but we suffered for many turns, so we might as well close out the game with a grand finale here. Use it twice. So I wanna thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay, and as always, have a nice day.